Hello and welcome to Hafen TV. Thank you for tuning in. Today we'll cast off and go on a big harbor tour with Fritz Wilhelm Jensen, shipmaster with the Hamburg Port Authority. Hello to you, or as we are in Hamburg, moin moin. Moin, Mr. Volk. Welcome on board the Harbor Master. We are going to enjoy a very special harbor tour. We will, of course, visit some touristic highlights, but there's so much more. Some large new container gantry cranes and big container ships. I'll tell you a bit more about them. In other words, we look into the economic heart of the beautiful and free Hanseatic city of Hamburg. Let's cast off. Let's go. And off we take with the experienced crew of the Harbor Master. For Captain Jensen, this is more or less routine. He often gives guests and business customers of the Hamburg Port Authority a tour of the harbor on his ship. There is hardly any question about the Port of Hamburg Captain Jensen can't answer. What does a harbor tour involve? What do you show people? That all depends on what the guests want to see, what they are interested in, and along that we tailor the harbor tour. We may go to the big grain terminals or to where iron ore is loaded and unloaded. But the focus usually is on container handling. Every harbor tour mentions it because the container is the most important type of cargo here. About 2/3 of the total volumes moved through the port reach or leave Hamburg in a box. And that means we'll be crossing over towards the Waltershof harbor basin. Yes, we are now traveling down the river Elbe towards Waltershof. The past few weeks saw a lot of changes there, and that's what we're going to explore. And one of the world's biggest container vessels is in the Port of Hamburg right now, and we'll have a look at it from close up. The Jules Verne, owned by the French shipping company CMA CGM, can carry over 16,000 standard containers. It regularly sails between Hamburg and Southeast Asia. The cranes on the quay to load and unload these mega ships have become a lot bigger too. In port speak, they are called gantry cranes. The first container ships arrived in Hamburg in 1968-69. Back then, one gantry crane weighed 200 to 250 tons. Today, they weigh 10 times that much. And these new large gantry cranes can lift 4 20-foot containers simultaneously from or onto the ship. 4 at one go. 4 20-foot or 2 40-foot boxes, that is. That's 4 20-foot containers all in one lift. The increased capacity allows the fast processing of these ships. You mentioned earlier that 1969 was the year you came in touch with seafaring. That time, containers already played a role. Would you have thought then that container trade would one day reach today's proportions? That probably was unimaginable. No, nobody could imagine that. Back then, I still served as a seaman on the first generation of container ships. At that time, it was considered a huge ship. We crossed the Atlantic to the east coast of North America with more than 700 containers on board. Not even feeder ships plying the Baltic Sea are that small anymore. With 700 containers on board, and we used to roam the world on them. It shows just how, in the shortest of time, well, okay, shortest of time is actually 40 years. Anyhow, it shows just how fast everything is developing. After completion of the large-scale expansion program of the Hamburg Port Authority, the facilities at Waltershof now sports 1.4 kilometers of quay with 4 berths deep enough to handle these giants of the sea. A total of 15 large gantry cranes make sure that ships are speedily processed. From Waltershof we go to Sandauhafen, located right behind Hamburg's famous bridge named Köbrandbrücke. Here you find Germany's biggest seaport terminal for dry bulks such as iron ore or coal, Hansaport. If you compare the number of containers moved through the port with the volumes of these cargoes here, Well, this is a completely different type of cargo. These are bulk goods. Huge grabbers are used to remove them. I think they can grab and unload up to 30 tons of iron ore at one go. You can't compare this to containers. Weight-wise, maybe there isn't much of a difference, so I believe, because if the new gantry cranes can lift 4 20-foot containers, they actually carry more weight than the grabbers here. As we all know, the Port of Hamburg is a seaport, although it's located quite far from the open sea. What does that mean for the port? They used to claim that the port's location was a disadvantage. Today it's considered a huge economic and ecological advantage because transporting goods by ship makes the most sense ecologically. Because we are located quite far in the inland, the goods are carried to Hamburg by environmentally friendly ships. Both road and railway traffic are reduced, which benefits the environment. So it is an enormous advantage. Above all, we have excellent rail links to Eastern Europe, to South Germany and to Southern Europe. We are quite well placed in Europe, also with regard on the competing ports.
Mit Süddeutschland, mit Südeuropa. Und da haben wir eine ziemlich gute Stellung hier in Europa, auch gegenüber den Konkurrenzhäfen.
Hansaport handles more than 10% of the total trade through the port, or about 15 million tons. The area available to house the iron ore and coal tips covers 350,000 square meters. When we reach our next stop, we leave the boat for a short while. Dockland, completed in 2005, is an office building located between Fischmarkt and Neumühlen. The view of the port from the almost 500 square meter large roof terrace of the building is splendid. However, before we can enjoy the view, we have to work. I like photographing. Once in a while, when a particularly large vessel is on its way and I can find the time, I come here and take photos because it's a fabulous view from here. In the middle of the city and yet almost right in the heart of the port. Have you ever counted the steps? Oh no, because if I did, I wouldn't come here this often. I was here with my children on the other day. I think we counted 253 steps. We still have some work lying ahead of us. Perhaps you could briefly explain what we see from the top here. How is the port structured? We are here on the rooftop of the Docklands with a splendid view of the port. On our right, towards the North Sea and down the Elbe, you see the buildings of Airbus Germany. Right opposite, there are the two big container terminals, Burchard Kai and Eurogate. We have just been there. Here in front of us you can see the Kühlbrand, a river arm which ships use to get to Hansaport, the grain terminals and container terminal Altenwerder. Behind us you see the Steinwerder area with container terminal Tollerort in front of it. If you look along the quay edge here, you look towards the city, all the way to the shipyards of Blom and Voss. Let's look down. There it is. Yes, down there is our lounge boat, the Harbour Master. Over there you see the Wilhelmsburg, a ferry operated by Haddock. It is one of the ferries of the number 62 service that travel between Landungsbrücken and Finkenwerder. You can spot a lot of guests on board. The ferry service is very popular with tourists. For them, it's a harbor tour at the same time. Do you think that many Hamburg citizens go on a harbor tour? I'm asking because when I ride the train on top there with my children and we look down on all the tourists running around here, my children always wonder what, they all come because of that? But that's so normal. Do Hamburg citizens see it in the same way? Oh, I think Hamburg citizens have a very strong bond with their port. Just think of the fuss they made when the Queen Mary called at the port for the first time. Up to today, this first call and all the other calls that followed have always been a big maritime event. Hamburg citizens and their port are one. You can't drive a wedge between them. I like to explain it this way. There are many cities that have a port. Hamburg is a port.
haben einen Hafen. Hamburg ist ein Hafen.
Well, that says it all. Captain Jensen is a coveted man in between shootings too. Here he is explaining the processes in the port to two Italian tourists. And he doesn't mind posing for a souvenir photo either.
Grazie mille, signora.
Signora.
After our short trip, we go back on board the harbor master and sail up the Elbe to Hansahafen, which is located in the eastern part of the port, right opposite the Elbphilharmonie concert hall and Hamburg's Hafen City district. Hansahafen, Mr. Jensen, is another port area that reflects the universal approach of the Port of Hamburg.
Richtig, wir haben hier hinter uns.
That's right. Behind us we have the fruit terminal where fruits from all over the world arrive, around 1 million tons a year, most of them bananas. Here in the foreground you can see containers of the world's largest shipping line, Maersk. These are reefer containers. Today bananas are mostly transported in reefer containers. This yellow and white vessel over there is a ship of the Italian shipping company Grimaldi, a so-called Conro vessel. Con stands for container, row for roll and roll off. Ah, now we can see it. Up there, cars are being moved in. Yes, correct, up there, cars are being moved in. That's one from Ingolstadt, the one that's going on board now. As you can see, it's a new car, but a lot of used cars are loaded here as well. However, those are all new cars. They are being parked very carefully. It's a liner vessel. From here it sails to West Africa, then across the South Atlantic to the east coast of South America, from where it travels northwards up the coast before it returns to Hamburg. The highly informative tour through the port with Captain Fritz Wilhelm Jensen is coming to an end. It was one of the last official trips with Captain Jensen. In the autumn of 2013 he will start his well-earned retirement. Well, Mr. Jensen, all things eventually come to an end, even a wonderful and exclusive harbor tour. Thank you very much for your time. How does the saying go? Always a hand's wide of clearance beneath the keel? Actually, it would be more appropriate to say under keel clearance. Well, thank you so much. It was a lot of fun. I wish you all the best. Thank you. And you, dear viewers, can find more information about the Port of Hamburg on the internet at www.hamburg-port-authority.de. That was Hafen TV. We'll have more for you next time. Bye for now and tschüss, as we say in Hamburg.
Tschüss.